With the sound of a slight cracking sound, the star region became dead quiet. All activities came to a sudden halt at this instant. Immediately, Old Mu Gu and First Elder Xiao Ling, who in an intense battle, hurriedly withdrew by over a dozen steps in unison, after which they quickly turned to the 3,000 burning flame. Under the focus of everyone's eyes, the unusually large body of the giant fire dragon lingered in the sky. At this moment, the symbols made of black lines on the densely packed dragon scales had disappeared. Although the eyes of the 3,000 burning flame dragon had become slightly dimmer after breaking the seal, the fierce aura that emitted threads of annihilation caused those present to be afraid. Damn it! Xiao Ling's expression was green as he looked at the 3,000 burning flame that had escaped the seal. He let out a soft curse in the process since he knew that things had currently become a little troublesome. Who could stop the 3,000 burning flame that had escaped the seal other than the three great heads? Ha ha! Compared to the ugly expression of Xiao Ling, Old Mu Gu had a face that was filled with excitement. His feet stepped forward as he laughed. Congratulations on having escaped. However, is it possible to carry out the things we discussed earlier? Relax. As long as you remain in my Hall of Souls for 1 year, we will definitely return your freedom. I dare to guarantee you on this point. Old Mu Gu's tone treated the 3,000 burning flame as an extremely powerful expert. Of course, the 3,000 burning flame was an expert, possessing intelligence. This old fellow has performed a transaction with the 3,000 burning flame? The hearts of Xiao Yan's group tightened upon hearing the words of Old Mu Gu. The gigantic dragon eyes of the 3,000 burning flame glanced at Old Mu Gu in front of him. An extremely human-like cunningness flashed across them as a low, deep voice was emitted from its large mouth. There is naturally no problem with the matter that we discussed. However, I must tour this world first. After that, I will head to your whatever Hall of Souls. The corner of Old Mu Gu's mouth twitched upon hearing its words. His smile was slowly withdrawn as he said, putting it this way, you intend to break your promise? Chi, you humans are all the same. You want me to trust you? Dream on. The 3,000 burning flame fire dragon's eyes revealed a chill. It had suffered great losses to the hands of humans. Although it did not know just what kind of powerful existence the Hall of Souls was, it was not a fool. It clearly understood that the other party merely wanted to obtain its essence flame. Old Mu Gu's expression had become completely gloomy. Although he had expected things to not would be smooth, he had not expected the 3,000 burning flame to take back its words this quickly. Xiao Yan by the side quietly sighed in relief when he heard the conversation between Old Mu Gu and the 3,000 burning flame. It seemed that both of them had malicious intent in their hearts despite their cooperation. Xiao Ling had also understood the situation. He hesitated for a moment before displaying an expression to Xiao Yan's group. The group slowly withdrew some distance. If Old Mu Gu and the 3,000 burning flame ended up fighting, it would naturally be best for them. With the strength of Old Mu Gu, he would definitely be no match for the 3,000 burning flame. After they were to have a vicious fight, it was likely that the trouble outside would be resolved. At that time, the experts from the Pill Tower would intervene and would definitely be able to take care of both Old Mu Gu and the 3,000 burning flame. Old Mu Gu slightly knit his eyebrows as Xiao Yan's group withdrew. He was aware of their intentions. However, this was not the time to think about such things. Although this 3,000 burning flame was strong, he needed to bring it back to the Hall of Souls today regardless of what happens. Since you do not want to do things nicely, you should not blame the old me for not acting righteous. The Pill Tower might not be able to deal with you, but my Hall of Souls will be able to let you know what is called a fate worse than death. Old Mu Gu gently spread his shriveled hand under his sleeves. His tone had also become exceptionally dense. Chi. A black figure tore through space just after Old Mu Gu's voice sounded. It carried a terrifyingly hot wind as it violently slammed toward his head. This sudden attack had startled Old Mu Gu. His body flashed and appeared over 100 feet away, after which his eyes were dark and solemn as he looked at the 3,000 burning flame as it swung its enormous tail. His hand was clenched and a bright silver jade plate suddenly appeared in his hand. Subsequently, he shattered it. Following the shattering of the jade plate, an extremely powerful spatial strength suddenly surged out. It immediately tore a crack in the space beside old Mugu. When the crack line formed, 3 human figures wrapped in black robes slowly walked out of the spatial crack. After these human figures walked out, 3 vast and mighty auras suddenly swept around this empty space like a storm. Even the 3,000 burning flames' large eyes revealed a seriousness in the face of this majestic storm. Honorable elders of the Hall of Souls. Xiao Yan's expression abruptly changed when these 3 mysterious black figures appeared. He had not expected old Mugu to still possess such a trick. The thing that caused Xiao Yan's heart to sink was that he had discovered that the strength of these 3 mysterious, black-clothed people was not any weaker than old Mugu. For Dozuns, such a lineup was something that even some top-tier faction in the Central Plains did not possess. However, this Hall of Souls had taken them out so easily. At this moment, the terror of the Hall of Souls within Xiao Yan's heart once again rose another level. Spatial Jade Plate. The Hall of Souls is really well prepared for this 3,000 burning flame. Qiu Ling clenched his teeth as he spoke. His eyes were gloomy as he looked at the 3 figures that had walked out of the spatial crack. Xiao Yan's eyes blinked. The so-called spatial jade plate was likely the thing that old Mugu had shattered earlier. However, he did not wish to think about this now. Old Mugu's side had gained the support of powerful reinforcements. It was likely that even the 3,000 burning flame would have difficulty fighting 4 elite Dozuns. Although the 3,000 burning flame had fought with the 3 great heads of the Pill Tower for many years, it did not mean that it truly possessed the ability to fight with the 3 great heads. After all, the 3 great heads had only intended to seal it from the beginning. Sealing it and killing it were 2 different matters. The 3,000 burning flame might be called an undying flame, but if the 3 great heads of the Pill Tower really wanted to finish it off, they were not without options. However, they did not wish to go to that extent. Each heavenly flame was considered an extremely rare thing to an alchemist. Moreover, these heavenly flames could only be formed after thousands or tens of thousands of years. It would really be a waste of precious things if they were randomly destroyed. Of course, the 3 great heads of the Pill Tower would rather spend a great amount of effort to build the star region and seal the 3,000 burning flame rather than destroy it. But the Hall of Souls was clearly not such nice people. They would definitely not leave what they could not obtain for others to enjoy. Mugu, your effectiveness in doing things is really poor. The 3 of us have waited for such a long time before receiving the summoning of your spiritual imprint. One of the 3 black figures that had stepped out of the spatial crack spoke in a hoarse voice. Do you really think that the Pill Tower is some ordinary people? Old Mugu frowned and coldly replied, there is no need for these unnecessary words. We do not have much time. Once the chaos in the outside world calms down, it is likely that the 3 great heads of the Pill Tower will hurry over. Just the 4 of us alone are no match for the 3 of them. Just make full use of the time. The Hall Chief views this plan with great importance. If anything goes wrong, all of us will suffer. Another black-clothed person faintly spoke. The remaining people became quiet upon hearing the words, Hall Chief. Old Mugu's face also slightly twitched. His eyes revealed a terror. Let's act. Do as we have planned. As long as we obtain the essence flame of the 3,000 burning flame, our mission will be considered a success. Old Mugu inhaled a deep breath of air. His eyes were dark and dense as he glanced at the distant Xiao Yan. Old Mugu felt an extremely dense killing intent for Xiao Yan in his heart. However, now was not the time for revenge. Hence, he could only forcefully suppress the killing intent in his heart. Form the formation and prevent the 3,000 burning flame from absorbing the strength of the stars. Old Mugu coldly cried out. His body took the lead to rush forward. Immediately, the 3 others also rushed in 3 different directions. After which, they surrounded the 3,000 burning flame. 10,000 ghosts devouring spiritual formation. Ice-cold cries were emitted from the mouths of the 4 of them. Soon after, a strange, black fog surged out of the bodies of these 4 people in all directions. After which, the fog swiftly spread. The interior of the black fog was filled with an unusually dark coldness. There was even a vague, ear-piercing screech continuously being transmitted from the black fog. With the spread of this strange, black fog, the strength of the stars that had been seeping in was blocked. Damn humans! The 3,000 burning flame roared furiously after sensing this change. It had just broken the seal. Naturally, it did not wish to return to a slumber in complete darkness. Puff! Its enormous mouth was widened, and a purple-black flame appeared just like a fire pillar as it was spat out of its mouth. Space itself formed numerous distortions wherever the flame passed. Crash! The expression of old Mugu and the three others slightly sank in the face of the wild and uncontrolled retaliation by the 3,000 burning flame. Old Mugu's hand seal changed with lightning-like speed. A dark, cold fog suddenly emitted waves of metallic sounds. Chi-chi. The black fog fluctuated as over 100 large, strong, black chains shot out of the black fog. They perforated the fire pillar that shot over. After which, they appeared just like numerous large pythons as they swept over from all directions. Finally, they transformed into a large web that covered the 3,000 burning flame. Beast, there is a good path for you to walk, but you wish to take this path to your death. Today, the old me shall fulfill your wish. A ferocious expression flashed across the eyes of old Mugu as the chains erupted. A cold cry suddenly exploded from his mouth. 10,000 soul heavenly lock. Clang! After the cold cry of old Mugu sounded, countless numbers of dark black chains, made from an unknown material, rushed out of the black fog in all directions. After which, they crossed each other before ruthlessly restricting the large body of the 3,000 burning flame. The chains shook and they firmly pestered the 3,000 burning flame. Roar! The 3,000 burning flame erupted into a furious roar after being sealed by these chains. Its large body wildly struggled. The purple-black flame continuously surged out of its body and burned the dark black chains. The purple-black flame lingered over the chains and many sharp, miserable cries were emitted. Waves of black fog continued to surge out of the chains as they went all out to block the burning flame. Crack! Under this all-out struggle by the 3,000 burning flame, some dark black chains were broken. Black fog surged at the spot where the chains broke. Some vague, tiny, savage faces appeared in the fog, causing them to appear extremely strange. Humph! Old Mugu's expression changed slightly when he sensed the great pressure that had suddenly unfurled. He had indeed underestimated the 3,000 burning flame's strength. However, he was also well prepared for their actions today. He immediately let out a cold snort as he sternly cried out, "Biting soul." The other three black-clothed individuals slightly nodded upon hearing his stern cry. Their hand seals changed. Murky, black fog suddenly poured out of their sleeves. Finally, it transformed into a countless number of souls with ferocious expressions that cried out in a miserable manner. After which, they collided against the enormous body of the 3,000 burning flame from all directions. Bang, bang, bang. The ferocious souls, with black fog surrounding them, had just touched the body of the 3,000 burning flame when they were burned by the purple-black flame into nothing. Even though they were burned up, their numbers were unusually terrifying. Tens of thousands of souls controlled by the black fog appeared just like moths pouncing into fire as they charged toward the 3,000 burning flame with a suicidal craziness. Xiao Yan's expression was slightly ugly as he watched the screeching souls burn to nothing by the 3,000 burning flame. These fellows from the Hall of Souls were extremely cruel and evil. They used souls as cannon fodder, a tragic method. These bastards! Xiao Ling's expression was green as he grit his teeth and cursed. Xiao Yan was quiet. Although this method of the Hall of Souls was cruel, it must be said that its effect was quite good. Dealing with the suicidal attack of the souls from all directions, the 3,000 burning flame, which had exhausted a great amount of energy escaping the seal placed by the three great heads, purple-black flame gradually weakened on its body. Roar! The 3,000 burning flame had clearly sensed the flame weakening. Immediately, a bright redness surged within its dragon eyes. A roar resounded over the empty space, and its enormous body was just like a gyro as it began to wildly rotate. Immediately, 100-foot-large firestorm was formed within this black fog. Crack, crack, crack. The purple-black flamestorm swept all around. The dark black chains that were pestering the 3,000 burning flames all crumbled. A terrifyingly hot suction force surged out of the storm, wildly absorbing the black fog that permeated the air around it. After which, the lingering purple-black flame completely vaporized it into nothing. Bang! This intense retaliation by the 3,000 burning flame also caused the expressions of Old Moo Goo's group to change. That terrifying heat was transmitted through the chains to their hands, forcing the four of them a couple of steps back. Only then did they stabilize their bodies. They raised their hands and discovered that their entire hand had been charred black. I have indeed underestimated this beast. Seeing that the combined effort of the four of them was still unable to seal this 3,000 burning flame, a grave expression flashed across the face of Old Moo Goo. Immediately, he inhaled a deep breath and a savage look flashed across his eyes. Sacrificial life soul lock. The remaining three black-clothed figures' hands became sluggish upon hearing Old Moo Goo's cry. They looked at each other before looking at the terrifying suction force of the firestorm. They could only violently clench their teeth and change their hand seals as fast as lightning. Immediately, a stern cry was emitted from their mouths. Life soul lock appear. Rumble. Their stern cries had just sounded when a wave of unusually clear, metallic sounds appeared. Xiao Yan's group was surprised to see four black fogs, 10 feet in size, suddenly erupt from Old Moo Goo's four-men group. Black fog dawdled as four dark black chains, 100 feet in size, appeared like four savage pythons. The dark black chains appeared extremely majestic. The surface of the chains were filled with strange seals. Countless faces, filled with mournful expressions, gathered on the chains. The moment the chain was unleashed, a terrifying, deafening cry continued to be emitted, causing Xiao Yan's group to slightly frown. Even the life soul lock has been formed. Looks like these fellows have also ended up in a battered state because of the 3,000 burning flame. A gloating smile flashed across Jiu Ling's face as he spoke after watching what was transpiring. What is this thing? Xiao Yan asked out of curiosity. The tactics of the Hall of Souls are extremely mysterious. I am not too certain about this so-called life soul lock. However, I do know that this is the final move of the Hall of Souls' honorable elders. The life soul lock is connected to their souls. If this thing is damaged, they end up facing extremely serious damage to their souls. Therefore, they will not take out the life soul lock unless they have no other choice. This thing might indeed be powerful, but the risk is too great. Jiu Ling glanced at the battleground before replying. Xiao Yan slightly nodded after hearing this. This Hall of Souls was indeed mysterious. It was actually able to practice such a strange thing. Form the life soul lock formation. A fierce glint flashed across Old Moo Goo's eyes as he cried out loud when the life soul lock appeared. Chi! The cry had just sounded when four incredibly large, black chains immediately penetrated through the air while being accompanied by an earth-shakingly miserable screech. They appeared outside of the firestorm in a flash, after which they emitted puff sounds as they shot into the firestorm. Sizzle, 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 sizzle. The enormous locks surged into the fire from one side and exited from another, after which they found another direction to enter it. This continued for just a couple of times before the four enormous chains had firmly entangled the storm. Creak! The firestorm's wildly rotating speed was forcefully reduced because of the entanglement of the four enormous chains. Finally, it completely stopped. Roar! The storm halted, and the 3,000 burning flame within it immediately appeared in the eyes of Xiao Yan's group. One could see that its large body had been penetrated by the four enormous chains. The chains passed through its body and meandered over it, trapping it. Seeing that Old Moo Goo had forced the 3,000 burning flame to such an extent, Xiao Yan involuntarily inhaled a breath of cool air. The combined strength of four Do Zuns was indeed terrifying. Hee. Old Moo Goo stared at the flame, which had gradually ceased struggling after being trapped by the chains. A strange smile involuntarily appeared on his face. His heart rejoiced a little. Fortunately, the 3,000 burning flame had been exhausted when it had tried to escape the seal of the three great heads. Otherwise, the four of them would have really found it difficult to completely subdue this untamable beast. All of you should lock it. I will take its essence flame. Excitement flashed across the eyes of old Mu Gu as informed the other three. When he looked at the 3,000 burning flame, it was struggling in a weak manner. Be quick. The life-soul chain is barely able to trap it. We will not be able to endure for long, a black-clothed person replied in a deep voice. His tone revealed a frailness. The level of difficulty in dealing with the 3,000 burning flame was far beyond their expectations. Old Mugu nodded. A deep blue flame surged out of his body. Finally, his body moved, and he arrived in front of the head of the 3,000 burning flame. He looked at the flame, who was struggling with all its strength. He involuntarily and ferociously laughed. You have refused to comply when asked nicely. This is your fate, beast. Do you regret it? Old Mugu did not pause while he uttered these words. He appeared at the forehead of the 3,000 burning flame, where the broken dragon scale was. At that spot, there was a 5-foot black hole. The 3,000 burning flame's essence flame was hidden within it. Old Mugu's eyes looked at the black hole. The green in them became even richer. However, just as he was about to charge over, the 3,000 burning flame ceased its struggle. A fierce glint flashed across its enormous dragon eyes. Swoosh! When the 3,000 burning flames ceased struggling, an uneasiness rose within the heart of old Mugu, but before he could ponder what it was doing, a small, purple-black dragon rushed out in a lightning-like manner. Along the way, the purple-black flame still felt suppressed like its body. Following this suppression, the purple-black flame swiftly rotated, transforming into a dark black color that chilled one's heart. A destructive aura was vaguely emitted from the little, dark black dragon's body. This beast is crazy. It dares to take its essence flame out by its own accord. Old Mugu's expression drastically changed upon witnessing this scene. Before he could recover, the dark black, little fire dragon had flashed in front of him, after which it violently collided with his body. Grug! This collision, which did not appear to be fierce, caused old Mugu's face to turn pale. A mouthful of bright red fresh blood was spat out. His body also flew backwards after appearing to have suffered a serious blow. Grab it! Old Mugu wildly roared in a furious manner after being violently sent flying. A good opportunity. Xiao Yan's eyes had landed on the small, dark black dragon with lightning-like speed after old Mugu's roar had just sounded. A wild joy surged across his eyes. The 3,000 burning flame that he had dreamed of had finally appeared within his reach. Xiao Yan's eyes brightened because of the appearance of the essence flame of the 3,000 burning flame. The old man Qinghua, who had been observing from a short distance away, transformed into a blurry figure at this moment as he rushed to the essence flame with lightning-like speed. Xiao Yan slightly knit his eyebrows when he saw old demon Qinghua react so quickly. His eyes flickered, but he did not act immediately. Although the essence flame had appeared, there were still 3 honorable elders from the Hall of Souls looking on with ill intent. It would not be easy to snatch this flame. Chi! Old demon Qinghua's speed was extremely swift. Within a flash, he had appeared in front of the dark black fire dragon. A hot expression flashed across his eyes. A vast, mighty Do Chi surged out of his palms and grabbed the fire dragon. Himph! You are seeking death. The Do Chi of old demon Qinghua had just been summoned when a couple of cold cries suddenly sounded before he could even make contact with the essence flame. Immediately, a wave of rattling metal sounds was transmitted over. A dark, cold wind stuck to the back of old demon Qinghua. Old demon Qinghua slightly frowned upon sensing this vicious force. His body flashed, and he hurriedly dodged. After which, his eyes were ice-cold as he looked at the black-clothed person who had intervened. He, other people are not allowed to encroach upon the things my Hall of Souls want. That black-clothed person coldly laughed. Over a dozen dark black chains lingered around his body like poisonous snakes. Sharp spiritual screeches continued to be transmitted from the chains. I will watch him. All of you should act and snatch the essence flame. The black-clothed person, who had attacked old demon Xinhua, turned his head to the other two black-clothed dozuns. He spoke in a deep voice. Understood. Those two black-clothed dozuns also nodded upon hearing his words, after which they rushed toward the essence flame. The expression of old demon Xinhua changed slightly upon seeing the action of these two people. His foot had just stepped out when over a dozen dark black chains cut through the air. They carried a sharp, chilling aura that wrapped around all of his vital points. Bastard! Old Xinhua immediately let out a quiet curse as these dark black chains rushed over. However, he did not dare to easily slight them. The do chi within his body surged out at this moment. Using his bare hands, he began a tough fight with that black-clothed dozun. While old demon Xinhua was being pestered, those two black-clothed dozuns surrounded the dark black, small fire dragon one behind the other in front. Their eyes exchanged a glance with one another, and their fingers were flickered. 10 somewhat tiny, dark black chains rushed out of their sleeves with a clanging sound, after which they ruthlessly rushed over to the essence flame of the 3,000 burning flame. The size of the small fire dragon was still quite impressive, about 10 feet in size. Although its size was far inferior to its previous self, the vaguely present, destructive aura around it caused one to be afraid of underestimating it even a little. A fierce glint flashed over the eyes of the 3,000 burning flame in the face of the combined attack of two black-clothed dozuns. Today, it had escaped the seal of the three great heads with much difficulty. It was unexpected that it had been forced to leave its actual body by the fierce individuals of the Hall of Souls just after it escaped. Puff! A dark black flame covered the entire body of the 3,000 burning flame. It swung its dragon tail, which transformed into a black lightning. It rushed toward the black-clothed dozun in front of it. That black-clothed dozun was slightly shocked as he watched the 3,000 burning flame retaliate. The fate of old Mu Gu earlier had caused him to be afraid of underestimating the flame. Immediately, he swung his sleeves. Black fog surged and a countless number of dark black chains gathered together. They were just like a giant python as it violently collided with the 3,000 burning flame.
Clang, clang, clang.
The violent collision between both parties caused sparks to shoot out. Immediately, wave after wave of clear metallic sounds appeared. The fierce chain python completely split apart after facing the 3,000 burning flames attack. This beast is very strong. Although the heart of this black-clothed dozun was filled with caution, collapsing upon contact had somewhat exceeded his expectation. Immediately, his footsteps moved and his body hurriedly withdrew. However, he had just showed signs of withdrawing when the space wiggled. The dark black 3,000 burning flame rushed out of the space, after which it was accompanied by a destructive aura that shot toward the heart position of the black-clothed dozun, like an arrow released from a bow. This extremely fierce attack of the 3,000 burning flame had aroused a fierce aura within the heart of this black-clothed dozun. Since when had he been forced into such a state during all these years? This fierce aura had just surged in his heart when the black-clothed dozun suddenly clenched his right fist. A vast, mighty, dark black, chilly fog gushed of his body, after which he threw out a merciless punch. Bang! The punch heavily collided with the fire dragon. A thunderous explosion resounded over the star region. A hot fire wave swept out in a lightning-like fashion. Grug! The expression of the black-clothed dozun changed almost instantly following the collision between the two. A mouthful of bright red fresh blood was spat out. After this collision, he finally understood just how terrifying this 3,000 burning flame was. Although the 3,000 burning flame had been weakened after having experienced various battles, its annihilation strength still managed to destroy his defensia in an easy manner within a mere instant. The feet of the black-clothed dozun continuously stepped back. A moment later, he finally stabilized his body in a somewhat miserable manner. His face was covered in shock. No wonder old Mu Gu could not even receive a blow earlier. This destructive force was really too difficult to block. Although the black-clothed Dozun was seriously injured, the dark black flame of the 3,000 burning flame had also become much darker. Clearly, that attack from earlier had exhausted it. Attack, it will not be able to endure for long. That black-clothed Dozun wiped off the blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. He saw the flame on the body of the 3,000 burning flame suddenly become dimmer. A joy surged into his shocked eyes as he cried out to his companion. The other Dozun from the Hall of Souls also nodded upon hearing this. However, after prior experience, they were much more careful. He waved his sleeves and countless numbers of spirits, covered by black fog, appeared. After which, they surged toward the 3,000 burning flame from all directions. From the looks of it, he intended to use the soul explosion to completely exhaust the remaining strength of the 3,000 burning flame. Although this tactic was a vicious one, it must be said that it was quite effective. Under the suicidal charge of the countless number of spirits, the 3,000 burning flame could only continue to dodge. However, the deep black flame on its body was gradually becoming paler. It appeared to show signs of returning to the kind of purple-black flame of the past. The 3,000 burning flame continued to dodge the soul explosions as a furious roar reverberated through the air. Seeing this scene, old Mu Gu and the black-clothed Dozun, who had suffered a great loss to the hands of the 3,000 burning flame, also sighed in relief. If the 4 Dozuns were unable to deal with the 3,000 burning flame despite acting together, they would definitely be punished when they returned. Xiao Yan in the distance observed the 3,000 burning flame being forced to dodge by the tactics of the Dozuns from the Hall of Soul. His eyes slowly narrowed. Currently, he could sense the 3,000 burning flame growing weaker. Things are bad. It is unexpected that these people from the Hall of Souls would be this vicious. They use such a tactic to exhaust the strength of the 3,000 burning flame. If this continues, the 3,000 burning flame will likely land in their hands. Qiu Ling by the side spoke in a deep voice with an unusually grave expression. Has teacher and the rest not freed themselves? Chowing knit her brows and asked. This star region cannot accommodate so many elite Dozuns. Originally, the star region should have collapsed soon after these people entered. However, from the looks of it, the 3 association heads are stabilizing it. I think that they should be able to split their attention and enter soon, Qiu Ling replied. What should we do? The 3,000 burning flame looks like it will not be able to endure for long. Chen Dan softly asked. Leave it to me. This sudden laugh caused Qiu Ling and the others to be startled. Their eyes immediately turned to Xiao Yan, only to see that he had a face full of smiles. First Elder Qiu Ling, can I invite you to intervene and block old Mu Gu and the other injured Dozun from the Hall of Souls? Xiao Yan glanced around as he asked. Old Mu Gu and that black-clothed Dozun are seriously injured. It is not difficult to block them. Qiu Ling hesitated before replying in a deep voice. Cuckoo, in that case, I will have to trouble First Elder Qiu Ling with regards to the 2 of them. Leave the final Dozun from the Hall of Souls and the 3,000 burning flames to me. Xiao Yan slightly laughed. Can you handle it? Qiu Ling was startled when he heard Xiao Yan's words. He immediately asked somewhat doubtfully. Although he did not have any comments about Xiao Yan's pill refinement ability, this was currently not pill refinement. Instead, it was a real battle. From the looks of the aura of the Dozun from the Hall of Souls, who was fighting the 3,000 burning flame, he should be an expert whose strength had reached that of a 3-star Dozun. With Xiao Yan's strength, fighting him and dealing with the 3,000 burning flame would not be a relaxing task. Xiao Yan smiled in the face of Qiu Ling's doubt. He flicked his finger, and a golden light suddenly rushed out of his storage ring, after which it transformed into a golden human figure. It was surprisingly the sky demon puppet that had evolved after having experienced numerous pill lightning. Qiu Ling was startled upon seeing this sky demon puppet with its golden luster. He slowly nodded. It was possible for him to sense a faint dangerous from it. Since you are confident, I will leave the 3,000 burning flame and the Dozun from the Hall of Souls to you. It will naturally be best if you have the confidence to subdue the 3,000 burning flame. Ling deeply looked at Xiao Yan. He was naturally aware that Xiao Yan was extremely interested in the 3,000 burning flame. Xiao Yan smiled as he nodded. He did not utter any additional unnecessary words. His feet stepped through empty space, and his body rushed in the direction of the Zun from the Hall of Souls with lightning-like speed. The sky demon puppet by his side transformed into a golden glow that followed close behind. 3,000 burning flame. You belong to me. A fiery heat that was difficult to hide flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes as he watched the small, black fire dragon. Xiao Yan, you are seeking death. Old Mugu had sensed Xiao Yan the moment his figure had flashed forward. Immediately, old Mugu's eyes turned chilly as he cried out in a stern manner. Xiao Yan neither heard nor bothered to deal with old Mugu's cry. He brought the sky demon puppet along and unleashed his speed to the maximum. He rushed toward the Zun from the Hall of Souls who was blocking the 3,000 burning flame. Kill him. An extremely deep killing intent surged into old Mugu's eyes when he saw Xiao Yan ignore his cries. After which, he cried in out a deep voice to the black-clothed Zun, who had been injured by the 3,000 burning flame earlier. That black-clothed Zun nodded upon hearing old Mugu's cry. Those two rushed out at the same time. Their vast and mighty qi caused waves of ripples to appear. Qi. The bodies of the two had just moved a short distance when the space in front of them distorted. A figure slowly appeared and blocked these two. Ling, get lost. Old Mugu's face turned chilly as he cried out when he saw Ling appearing in front of him. Ling merely let out a cold laugh in the face of old Mugu's chilly cry. He did not utter any unnecessary words. The qi within his body was unleashed without being held back, after which his body moved, and he hurried toward old Mugu. Old Mugu's expression slightly changed upon seeing Ling hurry over. In his current state, he was no match for Ling. His eyes immediately slid to the black-clothed Zun by his side. He suggested in a deep voice, "Let's attack together and take care of this old fellow." Understood. That black-clothed Zun also nodded upon hearing this. He was also badly injured. The special annihilation strength of the 3,000 burning flame had caused the inside of his body to be seriously injured. With his current condition, he was unable to fight with Ling on his own. It was the best choice for the two of them to fight together. A cold smile flashed across Ling's eyes when he saw old Mugu's group attack together. He did not withdraw. Instead, he approached them with an even fiercer stance. The black-clothed Zun engaged in an intense battle with old demon Hua also sensed when Xiao Yan's group acted. His expression quickly changed as he tried to escape the battle. However, old demon Hua continued to pester him. Ugh, how unlucky. I met that old fellow Yao Qin back then when searching for a heavenly flame. Now, I have met his disciple while doing the same thing. Forget it. Perhaps the old me does not possess that kind of fate. This time around, I shall help this little fellow on the account of my friendship with Yao Chan. Old demon Hua glanced at Xiao Yan, who had rushed toward the 3,000 burning flame. He quietly sighed in his heart before he charged forward. Qi surged as he firmly pestered that black-clothed Zun. A continuous black fog surged out of the sleeves of the last Hall of Souls Zun in all directions. The interior of the black fog appeared to be filled with an innumerable number of souls. They poured down like a storm, after which they exploded on the fire body of the 3,000 burning flame, causing the dark black flame to ripple. Soon, this 3,000 burning flame will not be able to endure for much longer. The hearts of those Zuns from the Hall of Souls sighed in relief as they watched the retreating purple-black flame of the 3,000 burning flame. However, just when he was about to unleash a soul to self-destruct, an unusually terrifying wind suddenly appeared behind him, causing his expression to change. Clang! While his expression had undergone a drastic change, the clothes on his back tore and black fog agglomerated into a chain that violently rushed out, after which a wave of clear metallic sounds resonated through the air. Bang! Although the chain had blocked the attack, the remnant force still shook this Zun from the Hall of Souls until he took 2 continuous steps back. Only then did he stabilize his body. His expression was dark and cold as he raised his head, only to see a golden-colored figure standing where he had withdrew from. "Brat, are you tired of living?" The Dozun from the Hall of Souls swept his eyes around. He saw the sky demon puppet standing behind Xiao Yan as he questioned him in cold voice. "Attack." Xiao Yan faintly glanced at the Dozun before softly commanding. Bang! After his voice sounded, the sky demon puppet's feet immediately pushed against empty air. Xiao Yan could hear a slight muffled sound, and the puppet appeared in front of the Dozun from the Hall of Souls with lightning-like speed. It raised his golden-colored metal fist and created a terrifying wind that violently smashed toward the Dozun's head. The expression of the Dozun from the Hall of Souls slightly changed when he saw the crumbling space where the sky demon puppet's fist passed. He did not dare to slight it as he hurriedly used all of his strength to meet it. Bang! Xiao Yan only smiled the instant he saw the Dozun from the Hall of Souls fighting with the sky demon puppet. His head turned to the 3,000 burning flame a short distance away. At this moment, the flame on its body appeared a little dim. However, Xiao Yan discovered that waves of star strength were seeping out of the surrounding empty space, after which they were absorbed by the 3,000 burning flame into its body. Following the pouring in of this star strength, the flame on its body gradually grew stronger. It is indeed worthy of being an undying flame. Xiao Yan felt a little awe in his heart upon seeing this scene. There was indeed a reason why this 3,000 burning flame was called an undying flame. If it continued to absorb the strength of the stars, it was likely that it would recover its strength within a short while. At that time, it would be extremely difficult to deal with it. It must not be allowed to continue to absorb the strength of the stars. Xiao Yan stepped through empty space as this thought flashed across his heart. He flashed and appeared in front of the 3,000 burning flame. A jade-green flame slowly surged out of his body, after which it completely wrapped around the 3,000 burning flame. The eyes of the 3,000 burning flame were ice-cold as it looked at Xiao Yan in front of it. By the time the jade-green flame rose, its eyes had become a little stunned. Immediately, a desire that had never appeared before suddenly appeared in its eyes. Although it didn't know just what the jade-green flame was after having been sealed for so many years, its instincts told it that if it could devour the flame, it would no longer need to be afraid of the 3 great heads of the Pill Tower. The expression of desire in the eyes of the 3,000 burning flame was also captured in Xiao Yan's eyes. He involuntarily shook his head. Back then, when the fallen heart flame was looking at him, it also felt this emotion. The only difference was that the fallen heart flame did not display its desire as prominently as the 3,000 burning flame. Whether you can devour my heavenly flame will be determined by your ability. Xiao Yan laughed. A silver glow flashed under his feet, and a thunderous roar resounded through the air. He appeared above the head of the 3,000 burning flame in a ghost-like fashion, after which his fist, surrounded by the jade-green flame, was violently smashed toward the 3,000 burning flame's head. Faced with this attack by Xiao Yan, the 3,000 burning flame, which was in a disadvantageous position, was unwilling to withdraw. It swung its dragon tail and heavily smashed against Xiao Yan's fist. Bang! 2 waves of flames were pressed into arcs as the two collided, after which a wind surged and shook the space until dark black fissures appeared. The fierce and powerful strength caused Xiao Yan and the 3,000 burning flame to withdraw some distance, after which the 3,000 burning flame roared at the sky. It widened its dragon's mouth, and an extremely terrifying purple-black fire pillar shot toward Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan let out a cold laugh when he saw the fire pillar being shot over. He was indeed no match for the 3,000 burning flame at its peak. Unfortunately, its current condition was no longer even 1/10 of its peak. The fire pillar swiftly expanded in Xiao Yan's eyes. It was about to enter a 10-foot region around his body when a thought passed through Xiao Yan's heart. The glazed lotus heart flame surged out of his body. Immediately, it transformed into a raging wall of fire. Bang! The purple-black flame violently struck the jade-green wall of fire. The 2 heavenly flames had finally collided head-on. They wildly unleashed their terrifyingly destructive strengths. The fire pillar swiftly rose into waves of ripples. However, Regardless of how the 3,000 burning flame burned, the jade-green wall of fire continued to remain stable. The stalemate between the two continued for around 10 minutes or so before the purple-black fire pillar finally began to gradually weaken due to the exhaustion of the 3,000 burning flame. A glow flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes as he looked at the somewhat sluggish 3,000 burning flame. The jade-green wall of fire suddenly scattered. At the same time, a jade bottle appeared in his hand. It was thrown at the purple-black fire pillar that had yet to completely scatter. Bang bang! The jade bottle burst apart on contact with the 3,000 burning flame. A snow-white-colored liquid shot out of it. Chi-chi! The liquid had just made contact with the purple-black flame when it suddenly erupted into waves of white fog. An icy-cold, bone-chilling flow was present within the fog. Although the white fog swiftly scattered because of the purple-black flame, Xiao Yan had undoubtedly added to the misery of the 3,000 burning flame. The dark black flame on its body completely changed into the purple-black color of the past. It's now. The moment the dark black flame lingering on the 3,000 burning flame transformed back into a purple-black color, a glint suddenly flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes. A lightning glow flashed under his feet, and he disappeared in a strange manner amid rippling space. By the time he appeared, he was already above the head of the 3,000 burning flame. Xiao Yan clenched his hand after appearing. Another tiny jade bottle appeared in his hand, after which it was thrown by him with lightning-like speed. It violently struck the forehead of the 3,000 burning flame. It broke with a bang, and a drop of dark golden blood slowly appeared. The body of the 3,000 burning flame immediately stiffened when the drop of dark golden blood touched its forehead. The expression in its eyes revealed a dullness. At the same time, a strange seal vaguely surfaced on its forehead. From the looks of the seal, it was the same as the dragon seal on Xiao Yan's palm. It is indeed the dragon seal. A wild joy flashed across Xiao Yan's face when he saw the strange symbol on the forehead of the 3,000 burning flame. Xiao Yan, who was in a state of wild joy, discovered that the dragon seal on his hand had gradually become hot soon after that strange symbol appeared on the forehead of the 3,000 burning flame. At the same time, an extremely mysterious feeling suddenly appeared in his heart. Xiao Yan felt stunned soon after this mysterious feeling appeared. He stared at the 3,000 burning flame in front of him, and he seemed to be able to sense its emotion. Roar! The 3,000 burning flame was dull for a moment once the symbol appeared, but it once again recovered its cautiousness while Xiao Yan was feeling shocked. At this moment, it appeared to have understood something. An ice-cold, fierce glint suddenly flashed as it firmly stared at Xiao Yan. The symbol on its forehead also grew brighter. Xiao Yan's heart was cold when he saw the fierce glint that filled the eyes of the 3,000 burning flame. He was aware that he would be in a dangerous situation soon. It was just as Ziyin had said. This dragon seal worked both ways. If he was unable to control the 3,000 burning flame, he would be controlled by it. This was something that Xiao Yan would not allow to happen regardless of what happens. Come, I want to see just how fierce you are. At this moment, only one of the two would survive. Xiao Yan was not some random person. Immediately, a fierce glow surged into his eyes. He had already swallowed 2 heavenly flames. Would he not be able to deal with this 3,000 burning flame? Roar! The 3,000 burning flame raised its head and let out a roar. The seal on its forehead suddenly emitted a golden light. It was just like a dazzling golden sun that had risen within the star region. Following the brightening of the symbol on the forehead of the 3,000 burning flame, the mysterious feeling within Xiao Yan's heart became more clear. A moment later, his eyes suddenly became dazzled. He was absent-minded. When he appeared again, he was in an extremely foreign space. This space was filled with purple-black flames, and Xiao Yan was present in these endless flames. Foolish human! A furious dragon roar was suddenly transmitted from the purple-black flames. A wild wind whizzed by, and an unusually large dragon slowly rose from the sea of fire. It lingered in the sky while it watched Xiao Yan, who was standing in the sea of flames. Xiao Yan's eyes focused on the large dragon within the purple-black flames. A moment later, he inhaled a breath of hot air. He clearly understood that this was the spiritual world of the 3,000 burning flame. It wanted to dominate the dragon seal and control Xiao Yan in the process. A soul battle, huh? Xiao Yan raised his hand. He glanced at the somewhat illusionary palm while his face was as rippleless as an old well. A thought passed through Xiao Yan's heart. A vast, mighty spiritual strength formed a lotus seat under his body, after which he sat cross-legged. His dark black eyes stared at the 3,000 burning flame within the sea of fire as he coldly laughed. "Beast, show me what you've got." Roar. The 3,000 burning flame immediately emitted a furious roar. Under this roar, the purple-black flames within this space wildly soared, after which they surged toward Xiao Yan from all directions with extremely shocking momentum. Xiao Yan's expression was unusually calm when faced with this wild attack from the 3,000 burning flame. At this moment, they were not only fighting with their souls, but also with their wills. Whoever could last until the end would be the final victor. These years of training had forged Xiao Yan into an unmoving mountain of toughness and calmness. It was impossible to tell just who would die in whose hand if they were to really engage in an all-out fight. The purple-black flames rushed over as a circular jade-green fire barrier slowly spread out of Xiao Yan's body. Finally, the jade-green flame transformed into a round cover that wrapped around his body. He appeared just like an unmoving mountain regardless of how the purple-black flames collided with him. The battle that would decide the fates of the two had just begun. Chao Ying and the rest in distant, empty space revealed faces that were filled with anxiety and doubt as they looked into the distance. Xiao Yan had suddenly ceased all actions. His eyes were shut tight. Moreover, the thing that really surprised them was the purple-black fire dragon in front of him. At this moment, that extremely fierce fellow had descended into a strange silence. Its body had surfaced in the air. If some life force had not been emitted from the bodies of the person and the dragon, it was likely that others would have wondered if these two had suddenly lost their lives. What happened? Chao Ying knit her brows as she softly asked. They seem to have changed their fighting method. I am able to sense Xiao Yan maneuvering an extremely great amount of spiritual strength. The 3,000 burning flame is also showing some activity in this area. I think that it should be a soul battle, Danshan softly said by the side. Soul battle? Chao Ying's expression changed slightly upon hearing her words. One could only engage in a soul battle if one's spiritual strength had reached a certain level. However, this kind of battle was too fierce. If one were careless, irreparable damage could occur to one's soul. Moreover, it might even cause one's spiritual strength to gradually weaken. Hence, even some true experts with powerful spiritual strengths did not dare to engage in a soul battle. However, it is pointless to worry now. Disturbing either one of them at this moment would result in a backlash. The results will be extremely serious. We can only wait for it to naturally end, Danshan said. Chao Ying tightly frowned. However, she could not think of a solution. All she could do was quietly sigh within her heart. When Xiao Ying's group discovered the strange condition of Xiao Yan and the 3,000 burning flame, Old Mu Gu and the others also sensed it. They were immediately startled. Although they were unaware of why Xiao Yan would suddenly engage in a soul battle with the 3,000 burning flame, they understood that now was a good opportunity to act. As long as they interrupted the face-off between Xiao Yan and the 3,000 burning flame, both of them would suffer a backlash, killing two birds with one stone. You will stop him. I will attack. Old Mu Gu clenched his teeth and yelled as a glint flashed across his eyes. That black-clothed Do Zun, who was bitterly battling with Qiu Ling, hesitated for a moment upon hearing this. He could only violently nod. There was not enough time. They could only withdraw if they did not gain anything. Old Mu Gu immediately flew off. Qiu Ling's expression sank when he saw Old Mu Gu attempt to flee from the battle. He was just about to give chase when the somewhat weary Do Zun unleashed an extremely crazy counterattack, pulling Qiu Ling's focus back to the battle. Chao Ying, stop him. Qiu Ling's expression changed after being delayed by the black-clothed Do Zun, who was using all his effort. Chao Ying and the others hurriedly nodded upon hearing his cry. Their bodies had just moved when the two experts from the Hall of Souls, who had gotten into the top 10 along with Old Mu Gu, rushed over and blocked the three of them. At this moment, everyone had been delayed. Hence, all they could do was watch with their eyes as old Mu Gu swiftly pounced toward Xiao Yan and the 3,000 burning flame. TSK, Xiao Yan, you have created a great opportunity for the old me. A ferocious smile flashed across old Mu Gu's eyes as he looked at Xiao Yan and the 3,000 burning flame from close proximity. A deep blue flame surged out of his palm, after which it slammed violently toward the top of Xiao Yan's head. Bang! Just when old Mu Gu was about to attack, an unusually vast and mighty force suddenly cut through the air and violently smashed into old Mu Gu's chest. Grug! This sudden, heavy blow caused old Mu Gu's face to turn pale. A mouthful of fresh blood was spat out. Immediately, shock surged into his eyes as he sharply cried out, "Xin Kongzi, the Hall of Souls really acts in a great manner. It has actually dispatched so many experts this time around." Old Mu Gu's sharp voice had just sounded when an ice-cold, elderly voice slowly reverberated through the empty space. A slight ripple appeared within space itself when the elderly voice sounded. Immediately, a figure slowly appeared. "The delay outside has failed, scatter." Old Mu Gu's eyes suddenly shrank upon seeing that it was indeed Xin Kongzi. He clenched his teeth and immediately cried out. Since Xin Kongzi had appeared, they were completely without hope. The cry had just sounded when old Mu Gu swiftly took out a silver-colored jade plate from his storage ring. He shattered it without any hesitation. A majestic spatial strength surged out and a dark black spatial crack appeared. Xin Kongzi had just appeared when the remaining 3 dozuns from the Hall of Souls expressions drastically changed. There was no need for old Mu Gu's reminder. Their jade plates appeared, and a couple of spatial crevices swiftly appeared when they were broken. "Since you have come, leave some souvenirs behind?" A cold smile immediately flashed across Xin Kongzi's face as he watched the 4 Hall of Souls dozuns quickly run. He clenched his fist and smashed at the 4 of them across space. Grug! His punch buelled through space. As the space around his fist crumbled, for unusually terrifying, invisible fist imprints penetrated space itself. They landed on the chests of the 4 people after appearing from extremely strange directions. Immediately, the sound of bones cracking apart appeared, for bright red blood foams were spat out of their mouths, along with some shattered internal organs. After which, their bodies launched into the spatial cracks, using the terrifying force on the fists to disappear. For dozuns were defeated with a punch. This strength was indeed worthy of being one of the 3 great heads of the Pill Tower. Xin Kongzi had frightened off the 4 dozuns from the Hall of Souls after just showing his face. He was just about to speak when his expression suddenly changed. It was possible to see the incomparably large, purple dragon swelling at this moment. The purple-black flame was like a volcano that continued to erupt. The 3,000 burning flame is about to erupt. Even with Xin Kongzi's calmness, he could not help but gently inhale a break of air as he looked at the swiftly swelling body. Bang! The enormous body of the 3,000 burning flame in the star region was rapidly swelling. Numerous 1,000-foot-large purple-black flames surged out in all directions from under the dragon scales. In the blink of an eye, they swept over a portion of the empty space. Moreover, from the looks of it, the eruption was far from over. This large-scale fire eruption caused even Xin Kongzi's expression to slightly change. He sensed that the 3,000 burning flame seemed to have released all of the flames that it had absorbed over many years at this moment. What happened? Xin Kongzi's eyes flashed. He suddenly turned to where Xiao Yan was located, only to see that he and the 3,000 burning flame had descended into silence. An instant later, Xin Kongzi seemed to have understood something. His expression gradually became grave as he exclaimed in a deep voice, "It is a soul battle. This fellow is really too bold." Bang! A portion of the body belonging to the enormous dragon exploded while Xin Kongzi mused. An unusually terrifying, purple-black flame wave swept through like lightning manner. The sky-burning temperature caused the interior of the star region to become a sea of flames. The purple-black fire sea split apart when it had reached a 10-foot radius around the body of Xiao Yan and the 3,000 burning flames essence flame. It left behind a flame-free area at that spot before rushing into the distance. Xiao, bring them and leave first. Xian Kongzi's expression had become a lot more serious as he sensed the terrifying temperature within the star region. The 3,000 burning flame has absorbed so many years of flames. The might that it unleashed was mind-boggling. Even he did not dare to stay in this kind of place for too long. Regardless of how strong one's do qi was, it would be extremely difficult to protect against the temperature of the 3,000 burning flame. Xiao nodded his head with a grave expression when he heard Xian Kongli's command. He waved his sleeves at Xiao Ying's trio, and a gentle breeze lifted the three of them before swiftly rushing them in the direction of the star region's exit. Teacher, there's still Xiao Yan. Xiao Ying, who was being forcefully pulled away, hurriedly yelled. Xian Kongzi tightly frowned. His focused on Xiao Yan, who was within the purple-black flames. The surrounding flames appeared cautious and did not surge toward him. However, if one were to remain in this place for too long, the temperature was high enough that an elite dozun would not be able to last long. I should forcefully bring him away. Xian Kongzi finally clenched his teeth after his heart hesitated for a moment. Although breaking the condition Xiao Yan was in would cause him harm, there was no other choice. With Xiao Yan's strength, he would not be able to hold out against such a burning temperature for long. Xian Kongzi's body moved while this thought flashed across his heart, after which he rushed toward Xiao Yan. He appeared above Xiao Yan, and he was just about to act when a golden light rushed over. It ruthlessly smashed at his head. This sudden attack caused Xian Kongzi to knit his eyebrows. He waved his sleeves and collided with the golden light figure, after which he forced back the figure. He glanced over and saw the figure was the puppet that had helped Xiao Yan receive many pill lightnings. Damn it! Looking at the situation, it was obvious that the Sky Demon puppet had treated him as an enemy. With Xiao Yan's orders, the low intelligence of the Sky Demon puppet only knew how to stubbornly execute its task of protecting Xiao Yan. Any actions that would harm Xiao Yan would be viewed as an enemy act. Although the Sky Demon puppet was unable to block Xian Kongzi, the attack earlier had caused him to lose his last chance because the enormous dragon body had emitted another bang at this moment. Bang bang! A section of the dragon's body exploded, and terrifying purple-black flames immediately swept toward Xian Kongzi from all directions, like the roar of a dragon. Xian Kongzi's eyes were tightly knit upon sensing just how terrifying the sea of fire was. His eyes were hesitant as he glanced at Xiao Yan below. If he were to leave at this moment, it was likely that Xiao Yan would end up dying. Why aren't you leaving quickly? You will only be waiting for your death if you stay. That little fellow looks a little strange. It is likely that nothing untoward will happen to him. Old Demon Qinghua was unable to withstand the high temperature while Xian Kongzi was hesitating. His body hurriedly rushed away to get out of the star region. He did not forget to urge Xian Kongzi to leave when he passed him by. Soon after the words of Old Demon Qinghua sounded, a jade-green-colored flame suddenly poured out of Xiao Yan's body, like a cover. It slowly spread and coincidentally wrapped around him. Heavenly flame, huh? Xian Kongzi only relaxed upon seeing this. He glanced at the purple-black flame. It rumbled as it swept over while accompanying a line of fire that stretched endlessly. Finally, he ceased hesitating. From the looks of it, Xiao Yan clearly had his own plans. Xian Kongzi felt a little reassured. At the very least, Xiao Yan did not appear to be someone reckless while Xian Kongzi had observed him. Ugh, little fellow, since you insist on choosing this, you can only seek your own blessing. Xian Kongzi softly sighed, after which he ceased remaining any longer as he turned around and rushed to the exit of the star region. His body flashed a couple of times as he glanced at the two experts from the Hall of Souls who had managed to get into the top 10. These two people did not possess a precious spatial jade plate like Old Mu Gu and the others. Hence, they could only quietly flee for their lives. Humph! Due to the chaos that had been created by the Hall of Souls, Xian Kongzi was filled with fury. He saw these two people sneaking around and immediately let out a cold snort. He waved his sleeves and a majestic force surged out. It wrapped around the both of them before throwing them into the purple-black sea of fire. The unlucky Hall of Souls experts had just fallen into a sea of fire when they emitted sharp, miserable cries. Do Qi within their body erupted with all their might. However, within 10 seconds, the Do Qi was completely swallowed by the flames. The bodies of the two of them were turned into ashes that scattered within the blink of an eye. How ruthless! Old Demon Qing Hua immediately raised his thumb to Xin Kongzi upon seeing what he did. However, after his words had just sounded, he sensed a fiery heat all over his body. He immediately let out a strange cry and no longer dared delay any longer. He went all out and shot to the exit of the star region. Xin Kongzi turned his head and looked at the purple-black sea of fire that had spread over the entire star region. A circular, green-colored light rippled like a tree leaf in a large sea. No one knew just when it would sink. Ugh, little fellow, whatever happens next will depend on your good fortune. Xin Kongzi sighed in his heart. He looked at the continuous line of fire that was surging over. His body moved, and he rushed to the exit of the star region. After a flash, he fled from it. After the final person had escaped from the star region, the region had become dead quiet. Purple-black flames spread over every part of the star region like a sea of fire. The terrifying temperature caused even space itself to distort. Currently, it was possible to see some rubble within Holy Pill City. Clearly, this place had experienced a big battle earlier. The silver spatial door fluctuated in the sky above the pill tower. Immediately, numerous human figures fled miserably from it. There was even hot, purple-black flames spitting out the door, causing those watching to feel stunned. Close the star region. Xin Kongzi's body flashed, and he sprang from the large spatial door. His eyes glanced into it, only to see the purple-black sea of flames swiftly moving closer. His expression sank as he cried out. Xin Yi and Tian Lazy by the side were startled when they heard his cry. However, upon seeing the grave expression on his face, they did not manage to say anything else. Their hand seals changed and waves of spatial ripples erupted. That large, silver door swiftly disappeared. Bang! A wave of purple-black flames spluttered out when the silver spatial door was about to disappear. It burned some of the experts from the pill tower until they withdrew. Miserable cries were emitted from their mouths. What happened? Xin Yi and the other great head hurriedly asked. Their expressions had changed when they witnessed this scene. The body of the 3,000 burning flame exploded and all of the flames it had absorbed over the many years scattered. Currently, the star region is likely a sea of fire. We need to strengthen the seal. Otherwise, if the star region breaks, Holy Pill City will be almost instantly annihilated. Xin Kongzi solemnly replied. Xin Yi and Tian Lazy's expressions changed upon hearing his explanation. The 3,000 burning flame had absorbed the strength of the stars for a countless number of years in order to form such an enormous body. Now that it had completely erupted, its might was such that even they would have to temporarily seek shelter. That's right. Where is Xiao Yan? Xin Yi's eyes swept around before suddenly asking. Xin Kongzi hesitated for a moment before replying, he's still in the star region. What? Why didn't you bring him out? Xin Yi's expression drastically changed as she cried out furiously. He is engaging in a soul battle with the essence flame of the 3,000 burning flame. Clearly, he intends to use this opportunity to refine it. If I were to forcefully pull him away, I would likely have caused him great harm. Xin Kongzi sighed. Causing him some harm is better than dying inside. Xin Yi's face showed her fury. Xiao Yan was Yao Chen's disciple. If Yao Chen was to escape from captivity in the future and learn that Xiao Yan had died within the star region of the Pill Tower, it was likely that Yao Chen would no longer interact with the Pill Tower given his character. He might even come and seek justice in his anger. There is no need for you to be this anxious. Although Xiao Yan was engaged in a soul battle, he was still able to sense the changes of the outside world. Since he did not choose to withdraw, it is likely that he has his own plans. He is not a reckless person, Tian Lazy by the side comforted. Xin Kongzi bitterly laughed and said, Relax, that little fellow possesses a couple of heavenly flames. Even if the 3,000 burning flame completely erupts, it will not be able to do anything to him within a short period of time. We will go in and bring him out once the star region become a little calmer. Hopefully we will not see a pile of ashes when we enter at that time. It is not as though you do not understand Yao Qin's character. What can he not do when he is angry? Xianyi looked at the spot where the star region had shut. She finally waved her sleeves, turned around, and walked to the pill tower with some fury. Xin Kongzi and Tianlei could only helplessly shake their heads when they saw her storm off. What did you say? The 3,000 burning flame in the star region has erupted? Xiao Yan is still inside? The little fairy doctor looked at the white-haired old man in front of her while she was within a room within the pill tower. Her hand had shattered the table beside her into dust as she suddenly stood up. Her warm and alluring face was currently covered with an icy evilness that had been gone for a long time. Tianhua Zunjia's expression also changed slightly as he stood beside the little fairy doctor. Qiuling also bitterly laughed upon seeing such a great reaction from the little fairy doctor. He cupped his hands together and said, "It is not as though we did not attempt to rescue Xiao Yan, but he was engaged in a soul battle with the 3,000 burning flames essence flame. He would have been seriously injured if we brought him away. Moreover, there is his puppet guarding him. It did not allow anyone to touch him. With the strength of the giant head of the pill tower, it is likely that a puppet would not be able to stop him regardless of how strong it is, no?" The little fairy doctor furiously replied. Although she didn't possess a clear picture of the situation within the pill region, she could tell that it was definitely bad from the tense atmosphere of the pill tower. Moreover, Xiao Yan was alone within the star region. It was likely that he would not survive. Qiuling also sighed in the face of the aggressive little fairy doctor. He said, "Association head and the others have said that once the situation within the star region has become better in a few days, they will enter it and forcefully bring Xiao Yan out. What if those who enter at that time fail to find him?" The little fairy doctor's eyebrows were vertical. A couple of days later, even Xin Kongzi's group did not dare to enter the star region at this moment. Would Xiao Yan be able to survive after having stayed in it? The fury in the little fairy doctor's heart surged when she thought of this. Just when she was about to erupt in anger, Ziyin secretly pulled at her sleeve. She softly said, "Relax, Xiao Yan is still alive. I can sense it." The little fairy doctor was startled upon hearing Ziyan's words. Her pretty eyes doubtfully looked at Ziyin. A moment later, her tensed face finally relaxed. Although Ziyin was naughty, she was clearly aware of the gravity of the situation. Moreover, her relationship with Xiao Yan was very good. If Xiao Yan met with any accident, she would definitely not be as calm as she was now. "I will look for your association heads 3 days from now. If they do not open the star region at that time, I will barge into it by myself." The little fairy doctor waved her sleeves and spoke in a deep voice. "Ugh, in that case, the old me shall take my leave first." Qiuling bitterly laughed and could only nod his head. At this moment, it was obvious that the little fairy doctor was furious. If he said anything more, he might end up in a fight with her. At that moment, he did not dare to say anything more as he cupped his hands together and withdrew from the room. "How can you sense him? He is separated from us." The little fairy doctor turned her head, stared at Ziyin, and asked when Qiuling left. "I planted a dragon seal in his body. If any accident occurs to him, the dragon seal on my hand will also disappear." Ziyin spread her small hand. It was possible to see a golden-colored seal on her hand. At this moment, the symbol was emitting a faint golden light. Not only has the dragon seal not disappeared, but it is even emitting a gold light. This means that his condition is quite good, and his life is not in any danger. Ziyin explained the seal in a serious tone. The little fairy doctor only felt the heavy stone pressing on her chest fall off after seeing the seal. She mused for a moment before her eyes were swung to the sky outside the pill tower. At this moment, there were quite a number of experts from the pill tower heavily guarding it. Even if this is the case, I cannot allow Xiao Yan to remain in that place alone. If he has not come out after 3 days, I will get the 3 great heads of the pill tower to open the star region again no matter what. While the outside world was a little chaotic because of the eruption of the 3,000 burning flame, the interior of the star region was unusually quiet. Purple-black flames lingered over every corner of the star region, rising and burning. The entire star region was just like a gigantic furnace. The air was unbelievably hot. Ordinary experts would likely emit a bang and auto-ignite into a fireball if they were to even inhale a breath of this air. The eruption of the 3,000 burning flame this time around had truly turned this star region into a deadly and forbidden place. There was a green glow vaguely present within the endless sea of purple-black fire. If one were to look from a closer position, one would discover that it was a green-colored fire barrier. A figure was seated cross-legged in the flame. Both of the figure's eyes were shut as a golden-yellow sky demon puppet with an expressionless face next to the figure. The one seated cross-legged was naturally Xiao Yan. The current him was just like a monk in meditation. His body did not move, and even the aura that spread from his body was quite thin. At a glance, he appeared just like a person on the brink of death. This place was an empty one filled with purple-black flames, causing it to be no different from the star region. However, the only thing different was that this place was not as quiet as the outside world. Instead, there was occasionally a furious roar and the sound of fires exploding. If one followed the sound of the explosions and looked over, one could see a circular, green flame spreading apart. The interior of the fire barrier revealed Xiao Yan's somewhat illusory body, seated on a lotus seat formed by the green flame. His body did not move. There was no change in his expression regardless of how the purple-black fire dragon struggled and strafed. Bang bang! Numerous enormous purple-black fire pillars violently collided with the jade-green fire barrier, causing the barrier to fluctuate and form numerous ripples. However, the pillars were ultimately unable to break the fire barrier. Lowly human, you dare compete in a life and death battle with me? The fire barrier's fortifications had not broken even after a long time. Moreover, the surrounding terrifying temperature appeared to not affect Xiao Yan. The 3,000 burning flame involuntarily became a little irritable. For some unknown reason, it had vaguely sensed that its strength seemed to be weakening with the flow of time. Moreover, the thing that shocked it was that the strength of Xiao Yan within the fire barrier was quietly soaring at a very slow speed. It was like the strength within its body was being transferred to Xiao Yan's body in an unbelievable way. This kind of transfer might be extremely slow, but it was happening. If this kind of exhaustion continued for a long period of time, it would sooner or later be unable to suppress Xiao Yan. At that time, it understood that Xiao Yan's retaliation would begin. This kind of change caused the 3,000 burning flame to feel uneasy and irritable. However, regardless of how it screamed and attacked, Xiao Yan continued to hide behind the fire barrier like a tortoise in its shell. He did not make any counterattacks. Rumble. The irritation caused the 3,000 burning flame to grow unusually wild and violent. It went all out, urging the flame to erode the fire barrier. However, the effects that it had obtained only caused it to become even more fierce and violent. Xiao Yan sensed the reason why the 3,000 burning flame was becoming wilder and more violent. It was because its strength was disappearing with the flow of time. Moreover, its strength would gradually flow into Xiao Yan's body. This kind of mysterious thing should be related to the dragon seal. It was just as Ziyin had mentioned. The dragon seal that she had planted in Xiao Yan was of a higher quality than the dragon seal of the 3,000 burning flame. This might be the reason why the strengths of the two of them showed signs of strengthening and weakening respectively. After having comprehended this point, Xiao Yan ended up relaxing. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to subdue the 3,000 burning flame. Fortunately, with his defenses, this weakened essence flame would be unable to do anything to him. All he needed to do now was to wait quietly. Once the strength of the 3,000 burning flame had transferred to his body, he would be able to turn the situation around and subdue it in one attempt. This would be the only chance Xiao Yan had to succeed. Even the slightest recklessness would cause him to lose this chance and cause the situation to turn into a miserable one. Xiao Yan involuntarily and coldly trembled the moment he thought about being controlled by the 3,000 burning flame after he failed. He would be better off dead. Therefore, he must not lose no matter what. Although this speed would require a long while before he could gain the strength to counterattack, this was all he could do. As long as he calmed his heart, victory was certain. After years of training, the feeling of impatience would naturally not appear in Xiao Yan at such a critical juncture. Everything was tilted in a manner that favored Xiao Yan. All he needed to do was wait until the day he would fully erupt. There was no concept of time within this spiritual space. Hence, Xiao Yan was unaware of the flow of time. The only thing he knew was that the 3,000 burning flame was weakening by the day while he was growing stronger. With the gradual flow of time, even the irritation in the eyes of the 3,000 burning flame gradually revealed panic following this strange transformation. It also knew that the longer things were delayed, the more unfavorable the situation would be for it. However, even it ended up involuntarily feeling helpless in the face of Xiao Yan's tortoiseshell defense. Its defense gradually weakened, but Xiao Yan's defense was strengthening by the day. This battle tested one's patience and will. Time swiftly passed like the sand between one's fingers. Xiao Yan had difficulty estimating the flow of time within this emptiness. The only thing he could do was focus and calm his mind, feeling the soul that was filled with spirituality within the space that was filled with purple-black flames. This kind of bitter wait with a calm heart continued before it suddenly ended. Xiao Yan, who had kept his eyes shut within the spiritual space, slowly opened them. This time around, his eyes no longer displayed the calmness that they usually did. Instead, a faint smile gradually surged into them. Now, it's my turn. Xiao Yan, who was seated on the fire lotus, looked at the sluggish 3,000 burning flame outside the fire barrier. He slightly smiled and slowly got up. A sharp aura swept out like a storm at this moment,